Welcome to a world of ancient legends, hidden treasures, and magical words. Tonight, we journey to distant Persia, where a poor woodcutter's life is forever changed by a secret cave and a single command: Open Sesame! If you enjoy classic fairy tales, timeless stories from 1001 Nights, and narratives that have captivated listeners for centuries, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell and support us with a like so you never miss a new story. Now sit back, relax, and let the tale of Ali Baba and the 40 Thieves begin. In a town of Persia lived two brothers, sons of a poor man, one named Qasim, the other Ali Baba. Qasim, the elder, married a wife with a considerable fortune and lived at his ease. But the wife of Ali Baba was as poor as himself. They dwelt in a mean cottage in the suburbs, and he maintained his family by cutting wood. Ali Baba was in the forest preparing to load his asses with the faggots he had cut when he saw a troop of horsemen approaching. He hastily climbed a large thick tree and hid himself among the branches. Ali Baba counted 40 of them. Each took a loaded portmanteau from his horse and, turning to the rock, said, "Open Sesame!" Immediately a door opened. The robbers passed in, when the door shut of itself. In a short time the door opened again and the robbers came out, who said, "Shut, Sesame!" The door instantly closed. Ali Baba ventured down and, approaching the rock, said, "Open, Sesame!" Immediately the door flew open. He brought his asses and took as many bags of gold coin as they could carry. Ali Baba told his brother the secret of the cave. Qasim rose early next morning and set out with 10 mules loaded with great chests. He found the rock and, having said, "Open Sesame," gained admission, where he found more treasures than he expected, which made him forget the word that caused the door to open. Presently, he heard the sound of horses' feet, which he concluded to be the robbers, who instantly put him to death. Ali Baba drove to the forest, and on entering the cave, he found the body of his brother cut into quarters. He took the quarters and put them upon one of his asses, and delivered the body to Qasim's wife. Morgiana, a female slave in his brother's house, was sent early next morning to a poor cobbler and gave him 2 pieces of gold to go with her blindfolded. Taking him into the room where the body was lying, bade him sew the mangled limbs together. Mustafa obeyed, having received 2 pieces of gold, and was led blindfolded the same way back. Qasim was buried with all due solemnity, and Ali Baba removed to the house of his deceased brother, of which he took possession. The captain of the troop resolved to find out who possessed the secret of entrance into his cave, and, disguising himself, went to the city early one morning. When accosting the cobbler, he was told of the job he had, who for 6 pieces of gold allowed himself to be blindfolded, and traced out the house of Qasim, which the robber marked with chalk. Buying 19 mules and 39 large jars, one full of oil and the rest empty, the captain put a man into each jar, properly armed, and then proceeded to the street where Ali Baba dwelt. "Sir," said he, "I have brought this oil a great way to sell. As I am quite a stranger, will you let me put my mules into your courtyard and direct me where I may lodge tonight?" Ali Baba welcomed the pretended oil merchant, offered him a bed in his own house, and invited his guest in to supper. Morgiana, sitting up later that night than usual, her lamp went out. She took her oil pot in her hand, and approaching the first jar, the robber within said, "Is it time, Captain?" She replied, "No, not yet." So she ran back to the kitchen and brought out a large kettle, which she filled with oil, set it on a great wood fire. And as soon as it boiled, she went and poured into the jars sufficient of the boiling oil to kill every man within. The captain of the robbers arose to assemble his men. Coming to the first jar, he felt the steam of the boiled oil. He ran hastily to the rest, and found every one of his troop put to death. Full of rage, he forced the lock of the door and made his escape over the walls. Without letting anyone into the secret, Ali Baba and Morgiana the next night buried the 39 thieves at the bottom of the garden. The captain at length, however, determined to adopt a new scheme for the destruction of Ali Baba. He removed all the valuable merchandise from the cave to the city and took a shop exactly opposite to Ali Baba's house. Ali Baba's son went every day to his shop. The pretended Khoja Hassan soon appeared to be very fond of Ali Baba's son, offered him many presents, and often detained him to dinner. Ali Baba thought it was necessary to make some return to these civilities, and he invited Khoja Hassan to supper. Morgiana carried in the first dish herself. The moment she looked at Khoja Hassan, she knew it was the pretended oil merchant. She sent the other slaves into the kitchen and waited at table herself. And while Khoja Hassan was drinking, she perceived he had a dagger hid under his coat. She went away and dressed herself in the habit of a dancing girl. As soon as she appeared at the parlor door, her master ordered her to come in to entertain his guest with some of her best dancing. Morgiana danced several times before the assembled company, until, coming opposite Khoja Hassan, she drew a dagger from her girdle and plunged it into the robber's heart. As a reward for her faithfulness, Ali Baba gave her in marriage to his son, and at his death put them in possession of his immense wealth. And so, through cleverness, courage, and loyalty, greed and violence were defeated. Ali Baba lived the rest of his life in peace and prosperity, while Morgiana, whose wisdom saved them all, was rewarded as she deserved. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and tell us in the comments which tale from 1001 Nights you would like to hear next. Until our next story, may words carry you where imagination knows no bounds.